Story 1. The idea that the value of men is based around their possessions and physical characteristics has to be number one on my list. Lots of misguided individuals like to promote this idea and fool men into believing it. These people are usually easy to spot, as they often have classes or books to sell you. The truth is, there is no single value that every human conforms to, and everybody will find value in different things. Just be yourself, maintain good hygiene, go out there and do your favorite activities alongside other people, and you will socialize and eventually meet someone who wants to connect with you. Story 2. Identity politics, in the sense of an extreme attachment to a set of labels, be it conservative or liberal, a mental health autodiagnostic, LGBT+ labels. The internet has allowed us to be closer to people with exactly the same labels and further from a more diverse community. People are ready to break ties with even their families over disagreements that should be natural. We seem to refuse to recognize the humanity in our neighbor. We assume every opinion different from ours is just evil. Story 3. That men are what is wrong with society. Cannot turn on social media without droves of people blaming men for everything. Also, blaming sons for their father's sins. Story 4. Women are unsafe while men can just walk at night without any worries. Men are more likely to be killed than a woman is. Yeah, but it's by other men. This is a flawed argument. It's inadvertently saying that the men being killed are the same as the kind of men that go out of their way to kill others. That's like saying we shouldn't care about September 11th attacks when Americans kill each other at a much higher rate than any other foreign terrorist would. All of a sudden, I'll be seen as insane for saying that. Why? Because who is doing the killing doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it's wrong to do. If your son or a male friend or relative was murdered, your first instinct isn't to think, it was another man that did it, so it doesn't matter as much. Your first instinct is to be emotional and acknowledge that something tragic happened. Yet, for some reason, I see people still use that as their first response when you actually disprove their narrative. Another argument I see people use is that society cares more about women victims suffering domestic violence at the hands of male abusers because the murder rate is higher, which is true. But then in the same breath, they will tell you that men are safe and privileged despite them being more likely to be murdered, assaulted, victims of police brutality, suicides, deaths in the workplace, etc. The same ones that are quick to talk about how bad some men are don't even realize that, to some extent, they're contributing when, at the first opportunity they get to shut down their struggles, they take it. Story 5. The overcorrection of labeling everything masculine as toxic. In general, there is no space for men to be what they want while women are actively encouraged. Men are encouraged specifically to shed traditional traits of masculinity, and it turns out women aren't attracted to them. Who would have thought? Men are different from women, period. Labeling everything as toxic with no discussion or little nuance is harmful to everyone but mostly to men. For instance, the fact that this comment will be downvoted with no responses. Men are suffering the highest rates of depression, loneliness, and suicide ever at far higher rates than women are. This means that it cannot be blamed on global things like the economy. There is something unique in the psyche of men that's being affected, and it seems clearly to be this new age of ambiguity on what it means to be a man. Story 6. The American Dream. The pathological belief that the only difference between you and a billionaire is how hard each of you worked. The role of luck and fortuitous birth circumstances is downplayed, and the Protestant work ethic is promoted as a surefire way to success. Success pimps and promoters of success porn content never acknowledge that the circumstances of one's birth, the mechanism of inheritance, and luck play major roles in who becomes successful and who does not. Story 7. I have an incredibly boring one, honor culture. There are a significant number of men, especially in the underclass, who believe that if they aren't very prickly about retaliating against any slight, they're a punk. It's the "what are you looking at" of ideologies, paranoid seething that anyone, anywhere, could be disrespecting you, and only by being a complete psycho can you prevent it. This bodes poorly for continued survival and an incarceration-free existence. Story 8. The thing that really stuck with me was all men are predators. It really messed me up in my childhood and teen years to hear women in my life telling me I would grow up to be a predator just because I was born male. Story 9. Casual misandry refers to the progressive ideas that seek to fundamentally change what men are or simply replace them with women. Slogans like herstory and the future is female, while seemingly innocent, bring up a strange attitude that can be interpreted to mean that men must take a back seat to women. You can empower one without breaking down the other, but it seems today like people are becoming so pro-woman that they are also becoming anti-man. Story 10. Considering that there is a current of feminism that says, we don't need men, and that men are more or less the cause of all the world's problems, I'd say that 1. Story 11. While there are a lot of good points here, it makes me so sad to see so many strawman arguments as well, or people manipulating the truth to present the narrative that suits them. This is the kind of stuff that makes people take what legitimate problems we do face a whole lot less seriously, and this sort of disinformation and twisting of facts is extremely harmful to us as a whole. Story 12. That being strong, manly, self-reliant, typical man traits, etc., means you have to be a bad person. No, just be a decent human being. It's not that hard. If you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of your behavior, then don't be that way. You can be an excellent, all-around, awesome human being without being unpleasant. In fact, that's the only way to be awesome. On the flip side, toxic isn't what some random person doesn't like. Toxic can take many forms. Just don't be the person you wouldn't want to be around, and you can safely consider yourself non-toxic. Story 13. This alpha male nonsense. They see alpha as being one type of person, but it is not at all. Also, if you identify as an alpha male, you're probably a sub-beta male. Story 14. Misandrist feminists and Andrew Tate are examples of a codependent relationship that would fail if one disappeared. Misandrist feminists cannot live without Andrew Tate and alpha male beliefs. They would have nothing to demonize men to the extent they do. And Andrew Tate and alpha male beliefs cannot live without misandrist feminists. They would have nothing to demonize women to the extent they do. I believe those two groups are by far the most harmful to men, young boys, lesbians, and young girls. Story 15. Hard to tell, there's plenty of them and they are connected as well. It does not matter if you die in the name of a god, monarch, nation, racist ideology, sexist ideology, the rich, or a crazy equality cult. The parasitic leaders are the same, the result is the same. Story 16. Any ideology that encourages men to treat others badly is harmful to men as well, I would say. Much of this is part of patriarchal systems, which suggest it suppresses women for the benefit of men. Yet what it really does is suppress almost everyone for the benefit of some men. In these systems, if you don't fit a certain stereotype, you lose confidence. You're not supposed to be emotional and not supposed to do anything remotely feminine. Today, at least in the Western world, we're breaking through these conventions, yet an even worse counter-movement has emerged, preying on young men who have lost their self-confidence, making them hate women and admire horrible self-declared alpha male influencers. Story 17. Anything Andrew Tate or anything else that pushes some false alpha mentality. I see it in my brother-in-law. He's become a complete douchebag who lacks respect for women. He preaches some ridiculous lion and wolf nonsense. It's funny to listen to his idiotic statements, but I feel bad for any woman that tries to date him. Story 18. The ideology that they should look out for women's issues more than their own. Women got it right. Forget male issues as they don't relate to them. Men should do the same, we've got our own problems. Story 19. I think it's two of them. 1. The kind of feminism that describes men as privileged and women as oppressed. Gender traditionalism, which forces men into gender roles that are against their interests. They must be providers, sacrifice themselves for other people's safety, etc. Story 20. I'd say the same ones it's always been. The ones that promote war and conflict. Stuff that will lead to drafts and millions of men being killed. Different ideologies do that, of course. Communism may seek to liberate foreign workers from capitalist oppression. There's fascism, of course, but that's not as prevalent today. And there is the particular brand of democracy that seeks to spread democracy and liberal values to wherever there are resources or countries aligned with a different political bloc. Story 21. Any ideology that tries to deactivate you as a functional adult male figure. Don't be a father, don't take risks, don't flirt, don't work out, don't eat meat, don't drive, don't protect your kind. Don't, don't, don't. Story 22. Modern feminism is not just about equality. It is about obtaining rights and powers regardless of being equal or not. This has led to the destruction of the family and has separated many children from their fathers, though many fathers have done this of their own accord. This has resulted in an epidemic of single mothers raising children without fathers and all that fathers bring to the table. It has created a generation of weak men, men whom women hate, men who hate themselves. It has also led to a large number of young women who have terrible relationships. Most of these young women who date men much older than them did not have good fathers in their lives, leading to more single mothers. Modern feminism is one of the greatest issues the world has ever known. I am for fair treatment of all people, but that is not what modern feminism is. Story 23. Radical individualism. The idea that collectivism of any sort is bad and something those evil leftists do, so don't do it. People like Dennis Prager and Jordan Peterson are well known for promoting that type of rhetoric. When I last checked, collectivism works pretty well for getting things done on a society-wide scale. Collectivism is also the backbone of nationalism, and nationalism poses a threat to the power of both conservatives and liberals and the people that benefit financially. Story 24. This feeling that women are responsible for their problems in some way or another, and they paradoxically need them to feel validated or to prove they are manly. I've discovered Barbie is a good litmus test to see how fragile some dudes are about their manhood. Story 25. The ever-present sense that to be male you need to be tough, indomitable, loud, and have no feelings. All of these are no longer needed in today's society, especially with our increased stress and use of technology. Story 26. The Andrew Tate capitalist mindset of basing your self-worth on possessions and your ability to make money, and the incredible misogyny that is usually packed in with it. Story 27. I would say all the ideas that preach that you should listen to them without providing any reason why these actions are in your best interest. Like one person once said, there are many people who will run up to you and tell you, you have to put this bucket on your head right now. Ultimately not because it's the best for you, but because they want to feel less foolish about wearing the same bucket on their head. Story 28. Men are mindless, dangerous, sex-driven individuals who can only control their urges to fight and engage in intimate activities if they are properly taught to behave, or if someone else exercises control over them. People should be cautious around us at all times because you never know. Story 29. Two extremes built on victim mentality within societal discourse are harming everyone. 1. Men are monsters. 2. Men are victims. And really, you can add "wa" to both, and my argument remains the same. These extremes evolve like mold in the darker corners of society and do nothing but divide us as people. Most men are decent guys. Most women are decent women. The minority extremes are loud and get too much attention. Those within are either self-centered opportunists, lacking in social interaction, seeking and contributing to a community, or willfully ignorant. Story 30. Feminists are trying to make men more feminine with this nonsense about toxic masculinity. It is not real. It is just a buzzword used to make boys scared of manhood. Story 31. The blatant onslaught of attacks on masculinity. It's suddenly encouraged in women and condemned in many men. I think it's less of a problem either in my region or perhaps just in real life, but I can't stand the way men have become in Hollywood comedy. The ditzy dad who is always pleading with his wife and so on. Everybody Loves Raymond is possibly the worst example of this I've ever seen. Story 32. Not sure if there is an ideology that encapsulates it, but men who think they should get offended about everything instead of just growing thicker skin and ignoring anything that isn't an actual threat. So many times nowadays you see men crying online about things that are irrelevant to get so upset about because it's personal preference. If you like pink flower hats, own it. Don't cry because other people think you are weird because of it. Story 33. Radical feminism, which arrogantly attempts to define masculinity through the lens of toxic masculinity. The only time I have ever had a problem or have been reprimanded for expressing my authentic emotions has been around women. Around men, I have never had that problem. The implication of the sin of being born male is devastating to boys and young men who grow up believing they are lesser and unworthy compared to our young women. When you get right down to it, this is essentially the message most of us have been exposed to our whole lives. Story 34. Collectivism, as in ideologies that define people by what they are, not who they are. It hurts everyone. People who look at a person and define their worth by their skin color, intelligence quotient, gender, religion, bank balance, etc. Being male or female doesn't make you any more or less worthy of compassion and respect. It doesn't make your opinion or judgment better or worse, and it doesn't make you any more virtuous or sinful. Your value as a human being comes down to the decisions you make and the virtues you uphold, especially when you are in a situation that will reward you for compromising your morals. Even when you can point out general trends, such as men on average being less agreeable, that tells you nothing of value about the individual person, and you shouldn't treat each person in that group as if they are representative of that group. I loathe this deeply evil mindset, and it is a repeating trait in every awful ideology or belief in history. The smallest minority on earth is the individual. Those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities.